All right, so if you're watching this video, it's because you believe that you have psychic abilities. Now, the most important thing is, before you go here, because I really don't want you to scroll, this is really important. The most important thing is, yes, you have these abilities, and yes, they matter. Yes, it's important for us to strengthen them. And I'm going to explain exactly how in this 20-minute or so video. So first, I want to talk about how I realized that I had psychic abilities, because I guarantee you it's probably going to be similar to, you know, your story, basically. So once upon a time, I worked at a homeless shelter. And again, this is a story of how I decided, you know, the moment that I decided to go ahead and start strengthening them. So I worked at a homeless shelter for about 4 months. One of the people that lived there, I was really close with. He was a really short Italian guy from New York, right? And really, really great guy, always in a good mood. And he walked up to me in this really nervous type emotion that he was in, and he was kind of flustered, and I asked him what was going on. He told me that he had just applied to a small studio apartment that was inside of a historical home, subletted historical home nearby. Now, he didn't tell me any details about what this house looked like. He was just telling me that he was nervous about whether he was going to be approved for the application. So, as he's speaking to me, I'm actually picturing and visualizing the details of this house. And something in my mind now I know it's my higher self, but something told me in that moment, why don't you ask him if what you're seeing is accurate? So I did that. I cut him off and I said, you know what? Can I tell you what I'm seeing? I explained the house in detail. I even explained the room that he had applied for. I saw him sitting on a bed in his underwear eating his lunch. And I debated on whether I should even tell him that part, but I told him anyway. And as I'm speaking, his eyes are getting wider and wider. And that was my confirmation that I was probably right. So at the end of the conversation, he asked me, he was like, how did you know all that? And I was like, I don't really know, but I'm assuming it's because I'm psychic. That's the only word I can come up with, because it's the word we know. You know, so from that point forward, after that conversation, I was just like, you know, I think at this point, there's a reason why I have this, and there's a reason why I'm noticing it, why it's amping up, you know, all of a sudden. Mind you, this is right after my mom had passed. So it was going through a huge spiritual awakening. And I had decided to leave my $60,000 or so a year job to work at a homeless shelter, making a fraction of that. So I know my life was transitioning and evolving and changing. And I knew that this was probably one of the catalysts of that change. So I say all that to say is because a lot of us, when we start noticing that we have gifts, that we have divine senses, as I like to call them, and I'll explain more about that in a second. But a lot of us, we realize it, but then we just don't know what to do with it. Like, how are we supposed to use, I mean, it's great to talk about when you're sitting around the campfire with your friends, or, you know, you're with your spouse and you just want to share something that happened during the day that you predicted. So I want to go through and talk about what's going to be happening in the next, 10 or so years. And that's going to answer that question for you. So I've been an active psychic medium for the last 2 years now, right? I live in my van full time. I have a psychic medium sign on the van advertising my services. I blew up on TikTok, and that's what got me most of my clients. Thank goodness. That was something I manifested before I left Florida. And I say all that to say, without going through my entire story, is a lot of the times, let me rephrase that, all the times that we are noticing our gifts strengthen is because we're being called to be a teacher, to be a student, to share our information, to change the world in some way, to change collective consciousness in some way. So in the next 10 years, I started visualizing things that were happening, whether it be in my dreams, which is why my name is Dreamwalker, by the way, my business name, or it be visions that I had when I was awake. I know that there's going to be a massive cataclysmic event that happens in this world. And it doesn't matter where you are, how you can avoid it, you can't avoid it. We're all going to be affected by it. That's not something that you could do. We're all going to be affected by it. More importantly, it's going to happen in phases. So if we're not trying to avoid it, and we're not trying to help others avoid it, then what's the point of knowing that information? Because I know deep down inside, you know that what I just said is true, right? The important thing is we signed up to be a part of the shift that's happening on earth right now. And because we signed up for it, we also have a role to play. The question is, what role do you want to play? If you know that you are able to see things, hear things, and feel things that other people are not experiencing when you do, that they're not aware of, then you are being called to define what that role is in this next, 10 years. In the coming times, I guess I would say. I realized that early on. I said my dreams, my premonition dreams that I would have weren't just about me anymore. I was having apocalyptic dreams where I was in my 60s and the world was very different from what you know now. And maybe I'll do another video on what I saw, but the most important thing is we are divine beings. We are the I am presence, the God frequency. And because we're divine beings, the senses that we don't talk about, that we've been conditioned not to experience and communicate about and share, those senses are our spiritual senses, because we have our physical senses, right? And yeah, you can debate that, we have 48 total, whatever. I'm not going into that, but we have our physical senses, we have our spiritual senses. Most of us don't know anything about our spiritual senses because the powers that be did not want us to. So my job, my overall goal, having done 300 plus readings, is to teach you how to strengthen those abilities so that you could see the truth in them, so that you could see exactly what the purpose or your intention is in using them, so that you can define the role in these coming times, what role you want to play. So I think my biggest lesson over the last 2 years has been that in every reading that I've done, and by reading, if you don't know what I'm referring to, by the way, if you're completely new to all these terminologies, by reading, I mean simply holding the space for you for 20 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes, however much you pay for. But I'm holding that space and I'm answering the questions that you have. Most of the time, they're very personal questions. Every once in a while, I get someone that really wants to learn how to strengthen their abilities. If I have extra time, I tell you anyway, to be honest with you. So my goal is to teach you how to strengthen them. And I do that by doing these YouTube videos, by being on TikTok and doing like short videos on there, short form videos. I also just decided to open up a Skool Community, Skool. You'll see the link in my bio or the link in my description. It's important because I'm cutting all my costs right now. I don't want to charge a bunch for readings. Never have anyway. I don't want to charge a bunch for one-on-ones either, teaching. I'm going to challenge myself with consistency, but also with just having social anxiety, being the center of attention. That's a challenge for me. I don't like being the center of attention, but I need a community. I need a community, and I need to be able to teach as many people as possible at one time, not individually taking time out of my day and your day, when you could be learning this with other students who are like-minded, who want the same goals as you. So I had that Skool Community. And one of the things I want to say about community, by the way, because a lot of us are also being called to be a part of a community, to figure out who you want to be in that community. Well, again, what role are you want to play? It's something that keeps coming up for me. What role do you want to play? So one of the things I learned when I used to work work with mental health patients, work with people struggling with or experiencing homelessness, one of the major things that I learned was that true homelessness, the definition of homelessness, has nothing to do with the lack of shelter. It's the lack of community. A long time ago, we could not survive without our neighbor. We could not survive without our community. That went away and we became more self-sufficient, which is great, but we also started getting handouts. And these aren't just tangible items. This isn't just food, water, grocery, things like that. It has nothing to do with just tangible items. This is also spiritually, because in every community, there was a spiritualist, the person that helped everyone remain grounded, the person that helped everyone remain balanced, regardless of what was happening, famine, war, slavery. Regardless of what was happening, there was always a spiritualist in the community that kept the civilians grounded. So I'm realizing that I am not spiritualist. I'm realizing, or at least one of them, because who said you needed one, right? I would rather have a whole village of them. But we're all being called toward a specific role. And the most important thing right now is, do you acknowledge it? Are you aware of it? No more talking down to yourself. No more being afraid of sharing the things that you're experiencing. No more lying to yourself. What you're experiencing is happening. That spirit that you saw when you were 9 years old, it's valid. You saw it. You knew that was ethereal. It wasn't something that you could touch. It was from another realm, right? You're seeing, you're hearing, you're feeling these things for a reason. Your ears are constantly ringing when one of your children are in trouble, or when you are supposed to make a left instead of a right. I don't know. You're experiencing synchronicities, like seeing repeating numbers, like hearing your name being called when there's no one to be around. Things like that. Like, these are happening because you are being called into the role that you were meant to be in this spirit, in this human experience. You signed up for this. And because you especially if you've gotten this far in this video, you're watching this because something I said has resonated with you. And if something I said has resonated with you, then it's time to stop pretending. It's time to stop running. It's time to stop being in fear. That's my goal, is to continue teaching. I am okay. I love doing readings. I love it. I love the fact that when I'm in a reading, when I'm holding that space for someone and answering their questions, the responses always resonate with me as well. Even when I don't want to hear it. It does. It's annoying, but it does. You know? So I say all that to say, if you want to join my community, you want to be a part of my Skool community and strengthen your abilities, and I have a bunch of techniques that I like to use, not just for myself, but also share with my students. I've been doing this for a long time now, without even calling myself a psychic medium, or before I gave myself that title, I've been doing it. And in another video, I'll go into detail about that. But for now, I just want to focus on, again, if you're hearing something, seeing something, feeling something, you're being called to step into your power. You're being called to use your divine senses. You're being called to connect, have a better connection with source energy, with your higher self. The self that's kind of been knocking on that glass door that you put him or her in for a long time. You can only hear them or see them subtly, right? They're muffled because we've been conditioned not to listen to that part of ourselves. But times are changing. Times are changing, and we need to step into that power. We need to make these decisions. So anyways, if anything I said resonate with you, if you want to hear more stories about how I found out that I was psychic, if you want to tell me more stories in the comments or stories about your experiences, please post it, like this video, share it, follow me, please. I'm doing a lot more of these videos. I'm going to be more consistent, especially because I have that Skool community. It is right now $49 a month. Even if you want to just pay for the first month, get what you need, and then cancel, I don't mind. But if you want to stick around, just know we're going to be going through a lot of different techniques. We are going to be doing 2 live readings every week, 2 live readings on top of workshops. So this is a very active community. I don't have any more time to waste with people. I don't want you to waste any more time either. So let's do this. I love you all. Peace.